Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's the Jade Gemini. This evening I am super excited to bring you a review on this little but big guy right here. This is the Kizer Towser S. And today we're going to go on and talk about what I like, what I love, what I dislike, and if it applies, what is rubbish about this pocket knife. Before I get there though, let's go ahead and first get some different things out of the way by doing a size comparison. So we're just going to compare to some common pocket knives that you may have seen before. So to do that, first is going to be the Benchmade Bugout, a knife that probably all of us have either owned or have held in our hand to have a general idea of the size of this knife. So butt to butt, you can see that this is a little bit smaller than the Bugout, but it's also a little taller. And let's go ahead and open everything up too so we can get an idea of what that looks like. This is definitely where a little bit more of the length comes out once you open it up. Everything kind of adds up together. So you can see this is a smaller knife, but it's not a tiny knife by any imagination. And then the knife that we're going to go ahead and compare it to here is, this is a Spyderco Endela. And the Endela is about the same blade size, but definitely longer. You know, probably around the size of a paramilitary 2-ish, size. While the Endura is much bigger than the paramilitary 2. So this is right around that size, or maybe a little bit under its brother. And then finally, another knife that is common is we are going to take a look at a sort of Swiss Army knife. This is a Victorinox. This is the 93 millimeter, sorry. So you can see that this is a reasonable size, which is what we'll go on and talk about in this review. It's compact, but it's not a tiny knife either. Also, to go and get some thickness out of the way, here it is with the spine of the Bugout. So you can definitely see that our Towser K is much more beefy in its spine. And here it is as well against the Endela. And then as well, if you have a Delica, an Endela, or an Endura, they're basically all the same thickness. So here it is in the thickness. So as you can tell, it's definitely a thick boy. I mean, this is a pretty decently slender knife, not the slimmest for sure, but definitely not thick either. It's pretty thin in the pocket. And same thing, the Bugout is about the same size, a little thinner than I think the Endela is, or the Endura. And as you can see, there's definitely some extra. You can't really tell, but there's actually more width. There's a chamfer here, so it's quite thick comparatively. So just get those sort of things out of the way. So with that all out of the way, let's jump right in. So the first thing that I like about this knife a lot is just this blade finish to start out. One of the best things that Kizer does is they have this sort of high polish, stonewashed finish that they do. And so this one is kind of their black wash. And what you get with this is really kind of cool. You get those same sort of thing with those little micro scratches in the finishing that you can see as it dances all over the blade. So each side is a little different. You can see that it's sort of knocked down here on the edges. It's just really a cool finish that they've done, but this doesn't feel like paint. It's gonna rub off or anything like this. This definitely feels that next tier up as a high quality, nice finish. Speaking of quality as well, all the lasering here, something else that I like, very crisp, very sharp, easy to see. Now, one thing about Kizer is, there is a little bit of billboarding sometimes. You have like a model number, the model name, sometimes the maker's mark, which this is a collaboration. And then of course you have the Kizer logo which I like within itself, but we've seen it enough. I'm not going to say, oh, I like the logo. It's one of the things that I like, just sort of going over everything in total. And this sort of same trend extends onto the pocket clip and the liners as well. So I like that when it's fully a whole entire set. They don't just do like one part, but then the liners are silver for some reason, but they actually go throughout the whole knife. Really, really something to like. The next thing that I like a lot about this knife is actually the pocket clip, since we were just speaking on it. This is really, really getting into some of the best pocket clip territory, right? I think one of them that definitely punches really high is this guy right here, because it is, smooth. It's got this big open area to get around pants and this easy ramp that makes no hotspot. And this is very similar in that same way. Same with like a ProTech pocket clip as well, which a lot of people say is the best. You get this flat that sort of even angles down a little bit, so it's not a hotspot at all. And then you get these recessed screws that are actually kind of self-centering and conical in shape. So when you screw them down, everything is cinched down really well. It's not going to move around. It's also quite slim, but big enough to get inside of the pocket. And what that calls for is just a pocket clip that doesn't feel like a hotspot. It just melts in the hand completely when you put it in. This doesn't extend super far past the end of the handle, digging into your hand, and it's not really big like some of the Lynch clips that come up to here, but instead it's very, very flush. Something definitely other manufacturers should be taking from is this excellent pocket clip. Definitely can't complain, and I wouldn't swap it out for any other design. It's a knock out of the park. Now, the next thing that I do like a lot about this knife is just overall the sort of construction. This is something that I kind of felt was cool. Sometimes having a design that's a little bit more clean is nice, and they've thought about this one. Because if you look, it actually has two standouts on the back for extra strength. And then you got everything here. However, as you can see, you've got one screw here, one screw there, see? And you've also got a lanyard loop, which actually that's something else to like. A lanyard on one side, but not on the other. So on the show side, it looks pretty and it looks clean. On this, you can still get your lanyard if you want and run it to the back right here. So definitely a cool design as well. But what we were mentioning is the fact that you have just these screws right here for the scales, and then you pop that off. It goes ahead and comes off. You will have to take the clip off, but then underneath there are hidden screws right here. So you're not just getting like one screw and then another screw and then a hole and then the pocket clip and blah, blah, blah. Like I love the Endela, right? And I almost like its sort of simple industrial design. Maybe a better example is something like this, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the pivot. Or this with these Chicago screws, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then your pocket clip screws, right? This is a lot more simple, a lot more clean. 1, 2. Not really an eyesore, not really breaking too much up here. And then, of course, you got accessories, but still not inundated by screws. Really simple, really straightforward, nice to like. The next thing that I like a lot is this big old relief. It's nice whenever you're able to disengage easily a lock, which we'll talk about what you just saw there in a moment. But you have right here, there's just a really easy lock. However, it's well tensioned and enough out of the way that even as hard as you squeeze it, it's not pushing onto the actual surface at all and disengaging in any sort of way. There's no up and down blade play, even though it's a liner lock. They've just done an excellent job, being able to easily access that. Real simple. And also, they've knocked down that edge really nice. Just sort of chamfered it, as you can see, along the whole entire thing with an extra bevel. And that's just made it where it's really comfortable, easy. Also, I like that you get thick O-liners, thick enough that you actually have to have a relief cutout like a lock bar. So this thing definitely has a little bit more of a beefy and a tanky knife, which is the next thing I do like. When you're using this knife and you handle it in hand, it feels fun. It feels beefy, ready to go. So lots to like right off the bat, but also even more so is a lot to love. The first thing that I do love is I love the micarta that they use in this. And I say that because it's not the best micarta in the world, right? It's not like Chris Reeve, knives micarta or something like that, or like the micarta that you would, necessarily get on something that is, high end, right? Like a Riot or something. But it is not bad. It leaves really nothing really to be, wanted. It feels nice. It feels premium enough, right? And we'll talk about how that transitions into something else that I love about this. But I'm saying this because, something like a Civivi that has micarta, right, that is used, just feels like this sort of Lego plastic resin, more resin, less material. Doesn't really feel like micarta. Just feels like this weird soulless material, right? And this feels like micarta, right? And it's just something that, again, I just really, really like. Same thing about QSP. I love the Penguin. Now, everybody knows I'm not going to poop talk the Penguin, right? But for the $30 that you're getting it, they're going to cut some corners, right? And the micarta is one of those things that they do cut. It has that same sort of resiny, plasticky feeling micarta. This feels like real micarta, to not beat a dead horse. And then that brings me into the second thing about this knife that I do love, and that is the fact that this knife, there's a lot that's going to be said here, but this knife is about $70 to $65. Smashing good price. And for that, you get a knife that feels special. It feels like it has a soul. Like I was talking about, there's so many Civivis out there, even Wiis that are titanium, right? Some Bestex, right? There's so many knives out there essentially that feel kind of like soulless. Like they might be almost perfect or perfect, right? But they just sort of feel like blah, it's just a little bland. Right, and to that point, that's why I haven't been posting as much knife content, because I kind of went through a phase where I was like, knives are boring. I've tried everything unless I'm getting into like FSD brown, crazy, high price that, with everything going on and the prices of everything, can't afford. So I think maybe I'm kind of out of knives, right? And I've slowly been having an appreciation and coming back into it. And this knife has just supercharged that back for me. So this knife is so well finished with the way that everything is, the micarta, again, and the price. There's a lot to love here. So the first thing above all else is this action. This action is firm, but doesn't hurt your finger. It's deep, fires out with such authority and sound, acoustics. Same thing when you close it. You can reverse flick it easily. You can even do like Nick Shabazz shows. You can slow roll it easily, and you can see like I'm not like watch drop down, and also there's very like that is when the detent's off. So it's not like you unlock it and you don't have to worry. But watch that. Look, I've unlocked it. No wrist movement at all. Maybe there was smallest key. I've canted it just barely forward. But it's also like slow and controlled, so you can get your finger out of the way and it just rolls down. You don't have to worry about it not closing all the way. But also you can have fun and guillotine it as well if you want to get a little dangerous, but because it clears so high, you can get your thumb out of the way and not have to worry about it clipping you as well. So it's just this really, really fun, amazing action. Really, really great action. I did this and then I went back to my Chavez and I'm like, I kind of wish it had this action in it, to be completely honest. And one of the reasons for that is actually right here. So these big plastic are actually retainers for a multi-roll bearing system. What that basically means is a normal bearing, you've got a circle. So if you don't know what that means, real quick, on a normal bearing, my bad, this is impromptu, but I feel like I have to do that. Normal bearing, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, let's say 8, 9 bearings in a circle, and then that's it, right? With a multi-roll bearing, what you have is you also have distributed another amount of bearings around the outside. So you get double the amount of bearings to ride on. And what this does is it actually has two axes or whatever to basically distribute the blade moving. So you actually can go ahead and run the action looser, where there's no blade play, but there's less tension to get the blade not to move and not have blade play. So this is 100%, solid when you're going ahead and moving this back and forth. And I haven't oiled it since I've got it, but yet you're getting that drop shut action like that, which is just so fun to fidget, so fun to play with. And that's not even necessarily the best part of the knife. I mean, that is a big one, right? But also, I love the way that this looks and the way this feels in hand. It's a mashup of greatest hits. You've kind of got this looking of a QSP Penguin up here, also kind of a Voxnaes F5.5 going on right here. You've also, with the way that this is cut out here and this rounded shape, as well as down here with this big old front choil, you've kind of got the Spyderco, feeling knife of some sort going on. And it's just, again, you got these big chunky choils that are actually usable, as well as this jumping that goes all the way up and down the spine. So you can get up on it like a Voxnaes, right? Do like this. I do like this, get more reach. It's also got a sweep to it instead of being a Warncliffe, so you get some belly. Also, it has a cutting axis, which is lower than your hand, so you could do some food prep work. You can do a pinch grip, get in like this. You can also get up on the blade like this easily, get just that tip into it. Your Amazon package cut across. There's so many grips that this is comfortable with that this is just a jack of all trades, and it just kicks butt. There is no master of none part. It's just a jack of all trades, right? It's awesome. Another thing to like is for the price, love is for the price. We've seen this on other things, but again, Tower CND2, right? This is 154 CM. A lot of people I respect. My good friend Matt Martin, owner and custom maker of Behemoth Knives, he says his favorite steel is 154 CM. It's just a jack of all trades. It's good corrosion resistant. You can strop it up. It holds a good edge, and it's been around for a long time, so people know how to heat treat it. You could say, oh, you know what, 20 CV is a real modern super steel, and that's what you have to have on a knife as a minimum, blah blah blah. But if you don't go, oh hey, this is M390, this is 20 CV, I have to heat it to an nth of its heat treat, and then I have to quench it, and then I have to do a cryo as well to really unlock and get 63 HRC, or I'm just gonna have 58 HRC, soft as crud, M390 or 20 CV, it doesn't matter. It's been around for donkey's years. People are gonna know how to heat treat this stuff. So there's just a lot to, love about that. The other fact of the matter is that I just love the way that this has this sort of rustic feel to it. So like the way that this is, sort of polished. There's these little white pieces on the side of the micarta. Like I said, it's real micarta. Same thing, each and every different stonewash is going to be a little different. The way that it sort of looks on the edge and everything like that. The sort of way that it's come with these swoop downs here, and they've sort of beveled these edges. Just really, really cool. Really, 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 really love the way this knife is looking and presenting itself, and the action and the use and the clip. And so what you get is you just get this awesome knife that kind of does everything. And again, it is $70. This is a keeper. This is a knife that if you told me this was $150, I would believe you, right? I might expect a little bit better of a steel, but you could sell this exact knife how it is right now sitting on this table for $150, just maybe change the blade steel, and I wouldn't bat an eye at it, right? I would say it's worth that in spades. Which is just incredible that you're getting something with so much soul and so many bonus, perfect. It's awesome. Now, as much as I'm absolutely in love with this knife and think it's excellent, there is some things to dislike. So the first thing about this knife is actually apparent on this knife, but I fixed it. And that is the fact that this had pretty bad up and down pivot lash or slop. Basically, that means when you have the knife closed and you go like this, it goes tink, 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 tink. because the hole is not perfectly pressed up against the detent ball, holding it in place, it's a little loose, so it's going like this. What that means is every time you go to actuate the knife, you can feel it kind of move and go whoop, and it's just distracting, just something I didn't really like, right? And so for me, what I've done to, sorry, the fidget factor in this is just ridiculous. But what I've done on this knife is I've taken and I put some tape right where the stop pin interfaces into that slot, and it's cured it. And then, of course, when it's locked open, which, of course, early lockup, full lockup of but you have the full entire way there, so also really good to go there, and everything is knocked down nicely, so there's no sharp edge, so good to go there as well. Forgot to mention those things. But, like I was saying, basically, that was the first thing that I did not like. And that does lead me into the next thing, and that is just overall consistency. I talk about how, you take a shadow box Civivi and you just use the same stop pin hardware and the same standoffs and the same feeling G10 or Micarta that feels kind of like cheapish, right, or plasticky, and then you basically move it around and say, oh, it's a new design, right? But one thing they do have going for them, even if they feel a little copy and paste cookie cutter, is the fact that their consistency is bang on. You get one Civivi, and another Civivi, and another Civivi, and another Civivi, and then you might have to have 50 Civivs in before you find one that goes, oh, hey, that might have a problem. With Kizer, as much as I really like what they're doing, and out of all the brands, I think they're the one that offer like really nice premium materials and different looking designs that feel special for a lower price. The problem that they do have is their consistency on their quality. I actually ordered another knife because if you look right here, this has a little tiny freckle in the PVD right there where it's like it didn't actually catch it, but luckily it's, this is a cheaper knife and it has that stonewash, so it kind of helps hide that. But one thing that did kind of annoy me is this part is like kind of silver right here, like it got extra hit with the stone media, and for some reason when I first got it, it bugged me. So I thought, let me order one on Amazon and see if it's any better. And if it's not, I'll just return it. I didn't use it. I didn't swap anything. And just, no harm, no foul, right? So I got it. This one had a lot of pivot lash back and forth, which this one has just barely. But honestly, I've had Chris Reeves with that much pivot lash, so I'm not tripping at all about that in any sort of way, shape, or form. But what it did have is just a lot more. You could feel the bearings sort of rolling around. You could hear everything was a lot looser. And also it just didn't have as hard of like a bang. It had like a softer, detent. Also on that model, which I wish it was on this model, it actually had aggressive sort of dig into your fingers, jumping on the spine. And this one's just like really rounded. It's just like almost annoying traction, right? It doesn't really even do anything unless you really, really, really crazy bear down. It's quite slippery, And so it's just that little sort of thing you do have to keep in mind. This one, luckily enough, doesn't have a smile right here. Really good, even sharpening on each edge. I forgot to say something that I do love, which I'll just show you here in a second. But the one thing really that is a dislike on this knife, and really a lot of Kizers, it's just because of that inconsistency. I've had Kizers where it had no detent. Like I literally went like this, it would not even lock close. The detent was just gone. Somehow got out the door. Had one that had a big scratch right in the finish, somehow got out the door. Had another one that had, I think, really late lockup, or, oh no, I had two that were heat treated and you could tell the knife was bent in the heat treating. It was the Blade HQ Jade M390, so that was a big plus for me. Feist, right, that they ran, and both of those had a blade that was completely warped and turned because of the heat treating. So there's definitely that concern. If you're getting one of these, you might want to get somewhere that doesn't have any sort of problem with an exchange or a return and buy again. Not that you won't love it, right, but you might get one that you're not pleased with. If you're a little bit in this a little bit more, or you're like me where you're kind of ADHD, where you specifically, look at minute things and judge those minute things and stuff like that. So something to keep in mind. There is one other thing to love about this knife that I did forget. Usually I'd maybe just skip over it if it wasn't a big deal, but this one's huge. And that is just how sharp this knife is from the factory, which is silly to say, but there are some knives that aren't, like this was. When I first got it, was not really too sharp from the factory. I've stropped this up, and so pretty good now, right? Pretty good. Oh God, this is just a push cut, not even moving, just a push cut. Do you see how thick that dang blade is, and it's doing this? Well, like, it kind of, I was really working on it, and it actually grabbed, and this is not stropped, by the way. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like when I hit it on the strop. I didn't for this review. But just imagine. This is the kind of sharp that doesn't feel like you're sharp, and you've completely sliced your finger open. Like it just surprises you. You don't have the teeth and the it's just like ballistically mind-melting sharp. And so that's why I would definitely put it under the love, and that's why it's important enough to kind of, make sure to mention that. And that's pretty consistent on Kizer. I have my John Gray, big old boy over there, titanium frame lock, the Thuck version of their frame lock, and it's just as crazy sharp. This is maybe a little bit more spicy, right? And again, there are certain knives that are okay, just sort of run the mill. This is just outstanding, surprising, above the top. And I think that just sort of leads in. There's nothing really rubbish about this knife in any sort of way. So just to kind of wrap, everything up. Besides understanding that as Kizer is a brand that maybe has a little bit to move on consistency of QC, you're probably going to get a really great one of these. And this knife is just rule breaking, groundbreaking. Like, this is like the QSP Penguin of $30. Like, you get a solid knife that works, that like locks, that has a good action for $30 and a good heat treat. This is like that next evolution up into the next tier of knife. You get really good micarta. You get great finishing on the blade. You get just one of the best actions that I've had. Period, right? Vero, whatever the case would be, Hinder, right? This is right up there with those, knives. It's just ridiculous. It's a fidget fest. It's fun, but yet it's a working knife. If you're just gonna buy this as a working knife, it's great for that. Oh, it also has lightning in the liners, so that's cool. The last thing I did want to say that I just personally don't love, I don't hate though, because it does feel that tankiness, but it does feel like it's a little heavier of a knife for sure, but that's probably due to this meaty blade stock and the, meatier liners. So it's kind of come to the territory, but that's really, other than that, right, this is just an amazing knife, and one that I think just, if you've been thinking about this knife in any capacity or conception, any sort of facet, basically, go for it. You're going to love this thing. Yeah, really, I can't say much more about this. This thing is freaking phenomenal. It's awesome. And I can't imagine me not having this forever, because it's not too expensive, but it is punches way above its weight. So if you like this review, please go ahead and give a like, as well as subscribe, as we are always growing. I can't thank you enough as well for taking time to go and watch my video, channel, as there's so many other great content creators, and you've picked on my little channel, neck of the woods over here. Also, if you have any comments, please leave them down below. I love fellowshipping, with you guys, answering any sort of questions you might have, anything like that. Of course, I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Take care and stay safe. Peace, guys.